The mansion burns like a funeral pyre against the midnight sky, 40-foot flames licking at the stars while sirens scream their arrival. Glass explodes from the third-floor windows, raining down like deadly confetti onto the manicured lawn below. Sarah Miller stands 50 yards away, her single arm hanging at her side, watching her childhood home become ash and memory. The firelight dances across her face, a face that once smiled in family photos, that once kissed her mother goodnight, that once believed in the word family. Her military dog tags catch the orange glow, the metal still warm against her chest after 3 years of being hidden in a drawer. At last, justice is mine. The words escape her lips like a prayer she never thought she'd live to speak. A firefighter rushes past, shouting coordinates into his radio, never noticing the woman in the shadows who orchestrated this symphony of destruction. 3 police cruisers screech to a halt, their lights painting the neighborhood in alternating red and blue, turning million-dollar homes into a crime scene. Sarah's remaining hand trembles not from fear, not from regret, but from the weight of finally letting go. The Rolex on her wrist, the one her father gave her before deployment, reads 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes ago, she was inside that house. 13 minutes ago, she heard them laughing. 13 minutes ago, she made her choice. The smoke carries the scent of burning mahogany and melting family portraits, of Persian rugs and lies finally exposed to flame. Her brother, David's Porsche, sits in the driveway, its windows reflecting the inferno, the leather interior he loved so much now watching its owner's empire crumble. A neighbor's curtain twitches Mrs. Henderson, always watching, always gossiping, finally has a story worth telling. Sarah takes one step backward, then another, her combat boots silent on the asphalt, despite carrying the weight of 18 months in Kandahar. The empty sleeve of her leather jacket moves in the wind like a ghost of the arm she lost, saving 3 soldiers from an IED. That arm is buried somewhere in the Afghan desert, along with the naive girl who believed blood meant loyalty. Ma'am, you need to move back. A young cop, maybe 25, approaches with his hand extended, concerned for her safety. If only he knew. Sarah nods, playing the shocked bystander, though her eyes never leave the second-floor window where her mother's bedroom used to be. The same bedroom where she found the documents. The same bedroom where she discovered what they'd done while she bled out in a field hospital 8,000 miles away. A gas line explodes somewhere deep in the house's belly, sending a mushroom cloud of fire into the night. The crowd gasps collectively, their phones out, recording tragedy for tomorrow's social media feeds. Sarah remembers the last video they posted of her, a shaky hospital footage from Germany, unconscious, missing an arm, fighting for her life. "Prayers for our hero daughter," the caption read. 2 million views. $50,000 in GoFundMe donations. Every penny stolen before she ever woke up. The fire chief barks orders, his men attacking the blaze with everything they have, unaware they're trying to save evidence of crimes that would make headlines for months. Sarah's phone vibrates in her pocket, a text from an unknown number. It's done. They can't hurt anyone else now. She doesn't reply. Some conversations are better left unfinished, like the one she tried to have with her father the day she came home. "Dad, I'm home. The maid will show you to the guest room." Not daughter. Not hero. Not even Sarah. Just another burden in a house full of secrets. The flames reach the garage now, where her father keeps his collection of vintage cars, each worth more than the lifetime pension she'll never receive. A Lamborghini's gas tank ruptures, the explosion rattling windows 3 blocks away. Sarah allows herself one small smile. He always loved those cars more than he loved her anyway. Her mother emerges from the crowd, designer pajamas askew, her face a masterpiece of performed grief. Even now, even watching everything burn, she's calculating how to spin this for sympathy, for attention, for profit. Their eyes meet across the chaos. For one heartbeat, mother and daughter see each other clearly for the first time in 3 years. Recognition flickers in her mother's eyes, not of Sarah's face, but of what Sarah has become. What they forced her to become. Sarah turns away, disappearing into the darkness beyond the emergency vehicles, leaving behind 28 years of calling this place home. Her rental car waits 2 blocks over, packed with everything that matters, her medals, her medical records, and the USB drive that will destroy them all. As she walks, she remembers the words her drill sergeant screamed during basic training. The enemy isn't always wearing a uniform. He was right. Sometimes the enemy sets your place at the dinner table. Sometimes they send care packages to your unit while emptying your bank accounts. Sometimes they wear familiar faces and call betrayal by another name family. The sirens fade behind her, but the story is just beginning. Because Sarah Miller didn't just lose an arm in Afghanistan. She lost everything. And tonight, she's taking it all back. 18 months earlier, Kandahar province, Afghanistan. The Black Hawk's rotors slice through desert air thick enough to choke on, Sarah's medical bag pressed against her chest like armor that can't protect what matters. 2 minutes out, the pilot screams over the chaos, and Sarah's hands already move, checking tourniquets, morphine, the tools that make her God in this godless place. Private Jackson, 19 years old, with a girlfriend in Toledo, bleeds out beside her, his lips forming her name, Doc Miller. Doc? She presses harder on his wound, her right arm trembling from the effort. That strong arm that saved 17 lives in 4 months. The helicopter touches down in a storm of dust and bullets, the Taliban's welcome party already in full swing. Move. 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 Sarah jumps first, always first, because that's what combat medics do. They run toward death while others seek cover. Her boots hit Afghan soil for what will be the last time, though she doesn't know it yet. Specialist Rodriguez is down, 50 yards out, his screams cutting through gunfire like a blade through silk. Sarah doesn't think, just runs, her right arm pumping, her left holding the medical kit that weighs 40 pounds but feels like nothing when adrenaline takes over. The world explodes in slow motion, dirt, sky, as the IED tears reality apart. Her body flies 15 feet, landing hard enough to knock the war out of her chest. But Rodriguez is still screaming, still dying, still needing her. Sarah crawls, her right arm dragging uselessly, not yet understanding it's hanging by threads of muscle and determination. She reaches him with her left hand, applies the tourniquet with her teeth, and one good arm saves his life while hers pours into the sand. Doc's hit, Doc's down. The words echo across the battlefield, bringing her squad running, their faces painted with the kind of terror reserved for losing their guardian angel. Sergeant Thompson, built like a linebacker, cradles her like a child, his tears mixing with the blood on her uniform. "Stay with me, Miller. That's an order." She tries to salute with her right hand. Nothing happens. She looks down and sees why her arm ends just below the elbow, a ragged goodbye to the life she knew. The morphine hits like a freight train of mercy, but not before she whispers, Did I save Rodriguez?" "You saved everyone, Doc. Everyone." Field Hospital, Bagram Airfield. 6 hours later. The ceiling fans spin lazy circles above her bed, their rhythm hypnotic, almost peaceful if you ignore the screaming from the next ward. Sarah wakes to absence the phantom weight of an arm that's now medical waste in a burn pit. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, her commanding officer, sits beside her bed, his weathered face trying to arrange itself into something hopeful. "Miller, you're going home." Home. The word tastes foreign, like candy after months of MREs. "Sir, I can still—" "You saved 3 lives with 1 arm, soldier. You've done enough. But enough is never enough when your brothers and sisters are still dying, when the war continues without you." The nurses change her bandages, their eyes careful not to show pity, but Sarah sees it anyway. She's become a cautionary tale. Private Williams visits, 19 years old, still green, still believing in heroes. "Doc, when you get back, you're gonna get a hero's welcome. Your family must be so proud." Sarah forces a smile, remembering her father's last email. Try not to embarrass us over there. The painkillers make everything soft around the edges, but not soft enough to blur the truth. She's a combat medic who can't combat anymore. They're flying you to Landstuhl tomorrow, the doctor says, his German accent making tomorrow sound like a promise instead of an exile. Sarah nods, her left hand unconsciously reaching for the right that isn't there, that will never be there. The other wounded watch her like she's already a ghost, already gone, already forgotten. That night, she dreams of hands, two perfect hands suturing wounds, starting IVs, holding pressure on bleeding that won't stop. She wakes to find Johnson, her battle buddy, standing guard by her bed even though she's in a secure facility. Can't have anyone messing with our doc, he says. But his eyes say what his mouth won't. He's memorizing her face before she disappears into the machinery of military medicine. The helicopter that evacuates her sounds exactly like the one that brought her to this moment, rotors beating like a heart that won't quit. Below, her unit stands at attention, saluting with tears streaming down dust-caked faces. Sarah tries to salute back with her left hand, gets it wrong, doesn't care. These are her people, her tribe, the family that bled with her. As Afghanistan shrinks beneath her, she thinks about home, about her mother's perfect dinner parties, her father's golf buddies, her brother's NBA celebrations. Where does a one-armed soldier fit in that picture? The morphine drip whispers its answer. Nowhere. But she's wrong about that. She doesn't fit because they've already written her out of the story, already spent the heroism they'll claim in her name. The war in Afghanistan will continue for others. For Sarah Miller, a different war is about to begin. One where the enemies smile at Thanksgiving dinner, where the ambushes happen in living rooms, where the casualties are counted in betrayals instead of bodies. The American Airlines flight touches down at JFK, and Sarah Miller grips the armrest with her only hand, watching New York sprawl beneath her like a promise nobody intends to keep. 3 weeks in military hospitals, 17 surgeries, and now she's home, whatever that means anymore. The other passengers thank her for her service as they shuffle past, their eyes catching on the empty sleeve, their smiles turning sticky with discomfort. Sarah walks through customs in uniform, her purple heart visible, her bronze star catching the fluorescent lights. The TSA agent, a veteran himself by the tattoos, nods with genuine respect. Welcome home, soldier. If only he knew. The arrivals hall teems with reunions, couples kissing, children jumping into arms, families becoming whole again. Sarah scans the crowd for her parents, her brother, anyone. There by the Starbucks, her mother checks her phone while her father reads the Wall Street Journal. No banner. No flowers. Not even eye contact. Mom? Margaret Miller looks up, her Botox-frozen face attempting something like surprise. Oh, Sarah, you're early. Not my daughter, not my hero, not even sweetheart. Just Sarah, like she's the housekeeper returning from vacation. Her father, Richard, folds his newspaper with the same precision he folds everything: emotions, relationships, $100 bills. The driver's outside. David had a meeting. A meeting more important than his sister's homecoming from war. The ride home in the Bentley feels like a funeral procession, 47 minutes of silence broken only by her mother's text clicking away. Sarah's reflection in the window shows a stranger hollow eyes, sharp cheekbones, half a person returning to a whole life that no longer fits. The Miller estate rises before them, 6 acres of Connecticut perfection, its columns and windows judging her before she even exits the car. Marcus, the butler, takes her single duffel bag, his eyes kind but careful not to stare at what's missing. Your room is ready, Miss Sarah. Not her room, the guest room, 3rd floor, far from the family wing. Her childhood bedroom has become her mother's yoga studio, her swimming trophies replaced with meditation crystals. 28 years of existence erased for downward dog and warrior poses ironic, considering the actual warrior standing in the hallway. Dinner that night is scheduled for 7 sharp, the same time it's been for 3 decades. Sarah descends the stairs, her dress uniform pressed, her medals polished, her empty right sleeve pinned with military precision. The dining room glows with chandelier light, the table set for 4, though it feels like a courtroom. David arrives late, his Armani suit worth more than her annual military salary, his handshake avoiding her left hand like it carries disease. Sarah, you look different. Different. Not strong, not brave, not survivor. Different. Like she chose to leave her arm in Afghanistan as a fashion statement. Margaret serves salmon with asparagus, the same meal she's served every Thursday since 1995. We've told everyone you're recovering privately, she says, cutting her fish with surgical precision. No need for publicity. Publicity. As if Sarah's sacrifice is a scandal to be managed, a PR crisis to contain. Richard chews in silence, his jaw working like he's grinding her service into something digestible. Finally, the disability checks should help with your situation. Sarah's fork stops midway to her mouth. My situation? Well, you can't exactly work now, can you? The words land like mortars, each one destroying another piece of the home she thought she was fighting for. David scrolls through his phone, occasionally grunting at market updates, never once asking about the war, the injury, the nightmares that wake her at 3 a.m. I saved 3 lives, Sarah says quietly. With one arm, after the explosion. Margaret's fork scrapes against china, a sound like fingernails on Sarah's soul. Must we discuss this at dinner? It's so unpleasant. Unpleasant. Rodriguez's blood on her uniform was unpleasant. The sound of Jackson's last breath was unpleasant. Her family's indifference is something else entirely, it's erasure. Days turn into weeks, each one colder than Afghan winters. Sarah eats alone most nights, Marcus secretly bringing extra portions because he notices she's losing weight. Her physical therapy appointments are met with sighs about the inconvenience of driving her. Her PTSD episodes are treated like tantrums, her mother closing doors to muffle the screaming. The family photos in the hallway slowly change. New ones appear where Sarah's either cropped out or strategically hidden behind others. Her Purple Heart disappears from the mantle, replaced with David's Harvard MBA. She finds it later in the garage, boxed with Christmas decorations nobody uses. One evening, she overhears them in the study, their voices carrying through heating vents like poison through veins. She's embarrassing, David says. The Hendersons asked about her arm at the club. We could send her somewhere, Margaret suggests. A facility? For her own good. The trust fund could cover it, Richard agrees. Keep it quiet. Sarah sits on the stairs, her remaining hand gripping the banister until her knuckles go white. They're planning to disappear her, to institutionalize their own daughter because she doesn't match the furniture anymore. The house she grew up in has become a mausoleum, and she's the ghost they're trying to exorcise. That night, she stares at her service weapon, locked in its case, and wonders if they'd finally notice her then. But no, they'd probably just complain about the mess. The war didn't kill Sarah Miller. But coming home just might. The 15th rejection email arrives on a Tuesday morning while Sarah sits in a Starbucks, her resume spread across the table like battle plans for a war she's already losing. We appreciate your service, but the position has been filled. Translation. Nobody wants to hire a one-armed veteran who might break down during board meetings. The barista, a kid with green hair and kind eyes, refills her coffee without being asked, pretending not to notice her tears. Sarah's laptop screen reflects her face thin, exhausted, a stranger wearing her skin. 6 months home, 43 job applications, 0 callbacks after the in-person interviews where they see what's missing. Her phone buzzes. Another text from her mother. Stop embarrassing yourself. Just take the disability money and be grateful. Grateful. For losing her arm. For losing her career. for losing everything that made her feel human. The next interview is at a medical supply company. Surely they'll understand disabilities. Surely they'll see past the empty sleeve. The hiring manager, a woman named Jennifer with perfect nails and practiced sympathy, doesn't even pretend. We're concerned about liability issues, insurance complications. You understand. Sarah understands perfectly. She's a lawsuit waiting to happen, a burden dressed in a pantsuit she bought with her last $100. Walking home because her family won't let her use the cars too risky with your condition? She passes the recruiting station where she enlisted 8 years ago. The posters still promise adventure, purpose, belonging. Nobody mentions what happens when you come back in pieces. That evening, Richard calls her into his study, the mahogany-paneled room where he's delivered every life sentence disguised as fatherly advice. Sarah, this job hunting needs to stop. He doesn't look up from his laptop, checking portfolios worth more than most people's houses. You're making us look desperate. The Caldwells asked if we need financial help. The Caldwells, who've never worked a day in their lives, living off inherited wealth like vampires, feeding on their ancestors' success. I need to work, Dad. I need purpose. You need to be realistic. He finally looks at her, his eyes calculating her worth like a damaged stock option. Take the disability checks. Stay quiet. Stop making scenes. Making scenes. Like existing with one arm is a performance she's putting on for attention. Sarah retreats to her room, not her room, never her room, and opens her VA paperwork. $3,847. Monthly compensation for combat-related amputation, PTSD, evaluation pending. It's enough to live on, to start over, to escape this mausoleum of judgment. She starts apartment hunting online, finding a small place in Brooklyn, far from Connecticut's suffocating perfection. Tomorrow, she decide. Tomorrow she'll leave. But tonight changes everything. At 11 p.m., Sarah goes downstairs for water, her footsteps silent from years of midnight patrols. Her parents' voices drift from the library, thinking she's asleep, medicated on the pills they keep suggesting she take. The power of attorney papers are ready, her mother says. Once she signs, we'll have access to everything. Sarah freezes, her hand gripping the doorframe. $3,800 monthly, plus the lump sum settlement, Richard calculates. It'll cover David's investment losses. David's losses. Her brother gambled away $2 million on cryptocurrency, and now they want her blood money to clean up his mess. She won't sign willingly, Margaret says. She's stubborn. Dr. Morrison can declare her mentally incompetent. PTSD, depression, adjustment disorder, plenty of diagnoses to choose from. Dr. Morrison, their golf buddy, who's never treated a veteran in his life but owns 3 yachts. We'll tell her it's for her own protection, Richard continues. That she's not capable of managing finances with her. Limitations. Sarah's knees buckle, but she stays silent, a skill learned in combat where one sound means death. The facility in Vermont is discreet, Margaret adds. 6 months there, and she'll sign anything to get out. A facility. They're planning to institutionalize her, to steal her compensation, to bury her alive in medical jargon and legal documents. It's for the family's reputation, Richard says. Like that justifies everything. We can't have her struggling publicly. The optics are terrible. The optics. Not the daughter, not the soldier, not the human being, just the optics. Sarah backs away, her hand over her mouth to muffle the sob building in her chest. She makes it to her room before the breakdown hits, collapsing on the floor, her body shaking with rage and betrayal so pure it feels like poison. They sent care packages to Afghanistan, posted prayers on Facebook, played the part of supportive parents while planning to rob her the moment she came home broken. Her phone shows 17 missed calls from VA mental health services appointments her parents keep canceling for her own good. Sarah crawls to her closet, pulls out her uniform, holds it against her chest like armor against this new enemy. The Purple Heart falls out, the one they threw in the garage, its weight familiar in her palm. She earned this with blood. She earned that compensation with sacrifice. And they want to steal it because she's inconvenient, because she doesn't photograph well at charity galas anymore. Something breaks inside her, not shatters, but transforms, like coal crushing into diamond under impossible pressure. The crying stops. The shaking stops. What remains is clarity, cold and perfect as winter stars. They want to erase her? Make her disappear? Take everything she fought for and call it family duty? Sarah stands, her single fist clenched, her reflection in the mirror no longer showing a victim. It shows a soldier who's found her enemy. The fire isn't just vengeance, it's justice, burning patient and bright in her chest. They taught her to fight overseas. Now she'll show them what that really means. 4:30 a.m., the basement gym her family forgot exists. Sarah's left fist connects with the heavy bag hard enough to split her knuckles open. Blood mixes with sweat, painting the canvas red. But she doesn't stop. Pain as just weakness, leaving the body, and she has so much weakness to shed. The mirror shows a ghost becoming solid again, 30 pounds of muscle lost in depression slowly returning as rage-fueled strength. Her left arm is learning to be two arms, to carry double the weight, double the burden, double the fury. Marcus finds her there one morning, doesn't say anything, just leaves protein shakes and fresh wraps by the door. He knows what warriors look like when they're preparing for war. The VA gym in Bridgeport becomes her second home, a concrete sanctuary where missing pieces don't matter. That's where she meets Tommy Scorpion Reeves Force Recon. 2 tours, left leg gone below the knee. "You're holding back," he says, watching her spar with the hanging dummy. "Throw it like you mean it." She throws it like she means it, imagining her father's face, and the dummy swings wild. Tommy grins, gold tooth catching fluorescent light. There's She Island, there's the fighter. He teaches her everything: how to shoot left-handed, how to balance without her right side weight, how to turn disability into deadly advantage. "They expect you to be weak," he says, showing her how to conceal a knife in her empty sleeve. "Use that. Let them underestimate you." The pistol feels alien in her left hand at first, but Tommy's patient, spending hours at the range until her grouping tightens to a quarter's width at 25 yards. "You're not learning to defend yourself," he corrects. "You're learning to never be a victim again." Sarah's days become routine. 4 a.m. workout, 6 a.m. run, 8 a.m. combat training, afternoon studying law books at the library. If they want to use legal weapons against her, she'll learn their ammunition. Her family notices the changes but misreads them entirely. "Playing soldier in the basement won't bring your arm back," David says, finding her doing pull-ups with one arm. His soft body, padded by privilege, can't do a single one with two. "At least I'm not playing businessman with daddy's money," she replies, not breaking rhythm. His face goes red, but he backs away. Something in her eyes warns him she's not prey anymore. Margaret attempts an intervention at dinner, her voice dripping fake concern. "This obsession with exercise isn't healthy, Sarah. Dr. Morrison could prescribe something for the aggression." "Aggression? They haven't seen aggression yet." "I'm fine, Mother." Sarah cuts her steak left-handed, the knife moving with surgical precision. Richard watches her, calculation in his eyes. "You're making the staff uncomfortable. Marcus says you're down there at all hours. Would you prefer I stay in my room, quiet and medicated?" The silence stretches until David laughs, ugly and mean. "You'll never be normal again. Accept it." Normal. Normal is their definition. Weak, controllable, profitable. Sarah sets down her knife, stands, walks out without a word. Let them think they've won. Tommy introduces her to his network veterans, who've been discarded, underestimated, reborn as something harder. Maria, A sniper who lost her hearing in Fallujah teaches her to read lips and body language. People say everything when they think you can't hear, she signs. James, chemical burns, covering 40% of his body, shows her surveillance techniques. Invisible doesn't mean powerless, he says, his scarred fingers dancing across keyboard shortcuts. Sarah absorbs it all, her mind cataloging skills like weapons in an arsenal. The shooting range becomes meditation, her breathing synchronized with trigger pulls until it's autonomous as heartbeat. Tommy times her. Weapon disassembly and reassembly. Left-handed, blindfolded 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 90 seconds. Muscle memory doesn't care how many arms you have, he says. It just cares about repetition. She practices knife work until the blade becomes an extension of her remaining hand, flowing through combat forms like deadly ballet. Her family's dismissal becomes fuel, their mockery transformed into motivation. Every sneer from David adds another mile to her runs. Every sigh from Margaret adds another hour to her training. Every dismissive glance from Richard adds another weapon to her skill set. At night, she studies their finances, their connections, their weaknesses, intelligence gathering, just like Afghanistan. She discovers David's debts run deeper than cryptocurrency, gambling, cocaine, escorts charging by the hour. Her mother's charity foundation skims 60% for administrative costs. Her father's investment firm walks the knife's edge of SEC violations. They're not untouchable. They're barely holding together, using reputation as spackle over rotting foundations. One evening, Sarah stands before the mirror, cataloging the transformation. Gone is the broken bird they wanted to cage. Her shoulders are broad, defined, carrying strength instead of defeat. Her stance is balanced, deadly, a predator learning to hunt with whatever teeth remain. The empty sleeve no longer looks like loss, it looks like evolution, adaptation, survival distilled to its purest form. Tommy finds her hitting the speed bag, her timing perfect, sweat creating rivers down determination. "You're ready," he says simply. "Ready for what?" "For whatever war you're planning." He sees it in her eyes, recognizes the look of someone done being victimized. "Just remember, the best revenge is served with precision, not passion." Sarah nods, her fist never missing a beat. She's not the same soldier who left for Afghanistan. She's not the broken daughter who came home. She's something new, forged in basement gyms and shooting ranges, tempered by betrayal and abandonment. Her family created their own destroyer, and they don't even know it yet. 2 a.m., the house sleeps like a tomb while Sarah moves through shadows she's memorized since childhood. Her bare feet silent on Italian marble, she navigates by moonlight and muscle memory, every creak in the floor mapped like a minefield. Richard's study door stands locked, but locks are just mechanical puzzles, and Tommy taught her well. The picks in her left hand work delicately, precisely, until the tumblers surrender with a whisper. Inside, her father's empire spreads across mahogany and leather, the command center of a man who wages war with paperwork. Sarah's phone flashlight sweeps the room, catching on certificates, photographs, the carefully curated proof of respectability. There, the filing cabinet, supposedly fireproof, supposedly secure, supposedly containing nothing but tax returns and insurance policies. The lock takes longer, her hand cramping, but Sarah's learned that pain is just information, not a stop sign. Inside, folders labeled by year, by category, by levels of deception she's only beginning to understand. Warriors Return Foundation, the charity her parents started 3 months after she deployed. The charity that posted her photo on every fundraising campaign, Help Our Brave Daughters Fellow Heroes. Sarah photographs each page, her phone camera clicking like a weapon being loaded. Donation records. $3.7 million raised in 18 months. Disbursement records. $400,000 to actual veterans. The rest? Administrative costs, salaries, consulting fees, all flowing to shell companies Richard controls. Her stomach turns, but her hand stays steady, These aren't just numbers, they're wheelchairs never bought, prosthetics never fitted, therapy never provided. Deeper in the cabinet, she finds the correspondence, emails printed and filed like trophies. David writing to donors, using her injury story to squeeze bigger checks from guilty millionaires. My sister sacrificed her arm so we could be free. Won't you sacrifice a tax-deductible donation? Margaret's fundraising galas, $5,000 a plate, promising to support wounded warriors while spending the money on venue rentals from Richard's properties. They're laundering money through her blood. A folder marked confidential holds the real poison photographs from the foundation's events. Veterans in wheelchairs, smiling for cameras, holding giant checks that Sarah now knows bounced. She recognizes one face, Corporal Williams, 3rd Battalion, lost both legs to an IED. His thank you letter is attached. The foundation's assistance helped save my family from homelessness. But the bank records show his check was canceled 3 days after the photo op. Sarah's hand shakes as she photographs everything, rage making her vision blur. Then she finds the document that changes everything. A contract between Warriors Return and the VA's Northeastern Benefits Office. Harold Morrison, the director, Richard's Yale roommate, ensuring veterans' claims get mysteriously delayed or denied. The scheme is elegant in its cruelty. Deny benefits, force desperate veterans to seek private charity, steal that charity, repeat. They're farming misery, harvesting desperation, and her family sits at the center like spiders in a web of suffering. Sarah finds her own file, thick with medical records she's never seen. Dr. Morrison's evaluation, declaring her 70% mentally incompetent due to traumatic brain injury, an injury she never had. Power of attorney papers, pre-signed by a judge who owes Richard favors, waiting only for her signature or institutionalization. They've been planning this since the day she got injured, maybe even before. Her deployment photo stares back from a fundraising brochure. Sarah Miller, American hero, daughter of foundation founders. They turned her into a marketing tool before she even lost her arm. A sound from upstairs footsteps, probably Richard's insomnia acting up. Sarah freezes, listening, her combat instincts calculating distances to exits. The footsteps head to the bathroom, water runs, then silence again. She has minutes, maybe less. The computer beckons, but it's password protected, and she can't risk the login attempts being logged. Instead, she finds the USB drive in Richard's desk drawer, labeled Insurance in his precise handwriting. The laptop in her bag boots silently, and the drive's contents spill across her screen like evidence at a crime scene. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, bribes to VA officials, even a recorded conversation where Richard laughs about these broken soldiers thinking they deserve handouts. Sarah's vision goes red, then cold, then clear as Arctic ice. This isn't just about her anymore. It's about Williams in his wheelchair, about Tommy's benefits mysteriously denied, about every veteran who trusted a system designed to devour them. She copies everything, the download bar moving like a fuse burning toward detonation. A second USB appears, hidden behind tax returns, this one labeled Leverage. On it, she finds photos and videos from Richard's business meetings, affairs, drug use, enough blackmail material to control half of Connecticut's elite. Her family doesn't just steal from veterans. They're parasites feeding on everyone's secrets. Sarah returns everything exactly as found, her movements precise, despite the adrenaline screaming through her veins. The lock clicks back into place just as footsteps descend the stairs. She melts into the servants' corridor, pressing against cold walls as Richard enters his study. Through the crack under the door, she watches his slippered feet move to the desk, pause, then settle in his chair. Did he notice something? Does he know? Minutes stretch like hours before he leaves, none the wiser that his own daughter just armed herself with his destruction. Back in her room, Sarah copies everything to multiple drives, uploads encrypted files to cloud servers Tommy helped her create. The evidence spreads like a virus, waiting to be activated. She stares at William's photo, at his grateful smile, believing help had finally come. Her family didn't just abandon her. They're vampires feeding on an entire community of people who gave everything for their country. Tomorrow, they'll smile at breakfast, never knowing she holds their futures in her remaining hand. The war has truly begun. Sarah meets Jessica Chen at a diner in Hartford, far from the Miller family's sphere of influence, where truckers drink coffee black and nobody asks questions. Jessica's hands shake as she reads the documents. This Pulitzer-nominated journalist who Richard destroyed 5 years ago for investigating his firm. "They ruined me," Jessica whispers, her voice scarred from the breakdown that followed her blacklisting. "Said I fabricated sources, killed my credibility." Sarah slides another folder across the grease-stained table recordings, bank statements, proof that Jessica was right all along. "Help me burn them down, and I'll restore your reputation." Jessica's eyes go from broken to blazing, in 3 seconds flat. When? Their annual Heroes Gala. 500 guests, every judge and politician they own, live-streamed for charity transparency. The irony tastes like copper pennies. They'll die by their own sword of public relations. Sarah and Jessica work for 3 weeks, building an airtight case, creating video presentations that can't be dismissed as fabrication. Tommy's tech friend, a former NSA analyst missing his right eye, ensures the files are unalterable, authenticated, bulletproof. "Once this goes live, there's no stopping it," he warns. "They'll come for you." Sarah touches her empty sleeve. They already did. The Heroes Gala arrives on a Saturday draped in Connecticut autumn gold. The Miller estate transformed into a wonderland of lies and luxury. Sarah wears her dress uniform, every metal polished, her empty sleeve a statement rather than an absence. Margaret's eyes narrow when she descends the stairs. "I told you to wear the blue dress. I'm done taking orders from civilians." The venom in Sarah's voice makes her mother step back, suddenly recognizing the predator she's created. Guests arrive in waves: senators, CEOs, judges who've sold their gavels for country club memberships. David works the room, cocaine confidence making him louder than usual, promising donations he'll never deliver. Richard holds court by the bar, accepting praise for his sacrifice of having a wounded daughter. Sarah positions herself by the stage, her phone connected to the presentation system Tommy's friend hacked that morning. Jessica waits outside in a van, ready to upload everything to every major outlet simultaneously. 8 p.m. Richard takes the microphone for his annual speech about supporting America's heroes. Sarah's finger hovers over Sin. "We stand here tonight," Richard begins, his voice oiled with false sincerity, united in our commitment to those who've sacrificed. "Like me?" Sarah's voice cuts through the room like a combat knife through silk. She walks onto the stage, her left hand taking the microphone from her frozen father. "Since we're talking about sacrifice, let's discuss what the Miller family really does with your donations." The screens around the room flicker to life bank statements, canceled checks, Williams in his wheelchair holding a bounced check. Gasps ripple through the crowd like waves of recognition. 3.7 million raised, 400,000 distributed. Sarah's voice stays steady as a sniper's breathing. "The rest? Daddy's mortgage, David's drug habit, mother's plastic surgery." Margaret shrieks, lunging for the tech table, but the presentation's running from Sarah's phone, unstoppable. The recorded conversation plays next, Richard laughing about broken soldiers while counting money. David, high and wild-eyed, charges the stage. "You fucking bitch! You're destroying everything!" He swings with telegraphed privilege, the kind of punch thrown by someone who's never been hit back. Sarah sidesteps, her training automatic, and uses his momentum to send him crashing into the drum kit. The crowd erupts, some filming, some fleeing, some calling, 911. Richard grabs Sarah's left arm. "Stop this immediately." She breaks his grip with a technique Tommy taught her, sending him stumbling backward. "You stole from veterans, from your own daughter, from everyone who trusted you." The presentation shifts to the VA corruption, Harold Morrison's face appearing beside falsified disability claims. Several VA officials in attendance start moving toward exits, but Jessica's team is already outside, cameras rolling. "You have no proof," Margaret screams, mascara creating black rivers down her Botox. "These are fabrications." Sarah pulls out the USB drive, holds it high. Everything's authenticated. Timestamps, digital signatures, voice recognition. She tosses it to Judge Patterson, one of the few honest ones. "Check for yourself." David struggles to his feet, nose bleeding, designer suit destroyed. "We're your family." "Number." Sarah's voice drops to battlefield quiet. "Family doesn't abandon you. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't try to institutionalize you." The presentation reaches its climax, the power of attorney papers, the institutionalization plans, Dr. Morrison's false diagnosis. The room goes silent except for the sound of Margaret sobbing, not from shame but from being caught. Sirens wail in the distance, getting closer. Jessica's story is already live, notifications pinging on every phone in the room. "FBI! Nobody move!" Agents flood the space, badges bright as Sarah's medals. Jessica had sent everything to a friend in the bureau that afternoon: wire fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy. Richard's face ages 10 years in 10 seconds, watching his empire collapse in real time. They handcuff him first, then Harold Morrison, then 3 other VA officials. David tries to run, but trips over his own cocaine paranoia, face planting into imported marble. Margaret collapses dramatically, claiming a heart attack, but the EMTs find nothing wrong except terminal narcissism. Sarah stands on the stage, alone but not lonely, broken but not beaten. The guests stare at her, some with respect, some with fear, all with the recognition that the broken soldier they pitied just won a war they didn't know was being fought. Tommy appears in the doorway, giving her a single nod of approval. Behind him, William's in his wheelchair, other veterans who've come to witness justice. "This isn't revenge," Sarah says into the microphone, her voice reaching the live stream, the world. "This is accountability." The room empties as agents escort the criminals out, leaving Sarah surrounded by the ruins of her family's false legacy. She touches her empty sleeve once, then walks off the stage. The war is over. She won. The fire starts in Richard's study at 11:34 p.m., 3 hours after the FBI seized the last box of evidence. Sarah stands across the street, watching flames consume the room where her family plotted her erasure. "The investigators will rule it electrical old wiring," they'll say. Though Sarah knows Marcus left a cigar burning in precisely the right place. "My resignation gift," he'd whispered, pressing keys into her hand before disappearing into the night. The fire spreads with poetic hunger, devouring Margaret's yoga studio, David's trophy room, the dining hall where they ate her dignity with silver spoons. Neighbors gather in silk pajamas, filming the Miller Empire's literal collapse for Instagram stories that will go viral by dawn. Sarah doesn't smile, doesn't cry, just watches her childhood become smoke in memory. The Rolex on her wrist, her father's last gift before deployment, she removes and drops into a storm drain. Time for a new clock, one that doesn't tick with betrayal. Jessica Chen's expose hits the Washington Post at midnight, syndicated across 200 outlets by sunrise. American aristocracy's war on warriors. The headline above Sarah's photo, her uniform crisp, her missing arm visible, her eyes volcanic with truth. The article wins Jessica her Pulitzer within 6 months, her reputation restored with interest. Richard gets 25 years federal, his cell smaller than his walk-in closet. David pleads down to 8 years, but prison cocaine is cut with reality, and he'll emerge broken in ways designer rehab can't fix. Margaret avoids jail through high-priced lawyers but loses everything: house, cars, friends who only loved her zip code. She moves to a studio apartment in Newark, the ultimate Connecticut society death sentence. Sarah uses her restored disability benefits to purchase an abandoned warehouse in Brooklyn. 3 months of renovation with veteran work crews, and Phoenix House opens its doors. The first resident is Maria, deaf from Fallujah, sleeping in Penn Station before Sarah finds her. Then comes Ashley, burn scars covering her back, turned away from 5 shelters for disturbing other residents. Within a year, Phoenix House shelters 42 female veterans, each room a sanctuary, each woman a sister. Sarah chose rather than inherited. Tommy teaches self-defense in the basement gym, the same techniques that saved Sarah, now saving others. Your missing pieces don't define you, he tells each class. They refine you. Sarah's testimony before Congress goes viral, 3 minutes of unblinking truth about systematic abandonment of female veterans. Senator Williams, whose daughter serves in the Navy, sponsors the Miller Act, tripling funding for veteran mental health and housing. The support groups meet Tuesday nights, circles of women sharing war stories from both overseas and home. Sarah listens more than she talks, her empty sleeve a silent credential that she understands. One night, Private Jennifer Reeves, 22 with a prosthetic leg, asks the question they all wonder. Do you forgive them? Your family? Sarah considers, her hand resting where her right arm should be. I forgive them for what they did to me. I can't forgive what they did to us. The distinction matters personal peace without societal amnesty. Phoenix House expands, buying the adjacent building with donations from veterans organizations, ashamed they didn't help sooner. Sarah's office wall displays photos not of family, but of every woman who's walked through their doors. Real sisters, forged in fire, both foreign and domestic. Marcus appears one morning with coffee and a confession. I knew what they were doing. I should have warned you sooner. Sarah accepts the coffee and the apology. You warned me when it mattered. That's enough. He stays, becoming Phoenix House's operations manager, his butler skills translating perfectly to shelter logistics. The anniversary of her injury passes without ceremony. Just Sarah alone at dawn, watching the sun rise over Brooklyn. Her phantom arm still aches, neural ghosts of what was, but the pain feels different now, like labor pains, birthing something necessary. Jessica visits monthly, writing follow-ups, keeping pressure on the VA to honor its promises. You know you're a hero, right? She says over coffee. Sarah shakes her head. Heroes don't survive. Survivors just continue. Williams rolls into Phoenix House one afternoon, his wheelchair decorated with veteran stickers. Heard you were hiring, he says, grinning. I figure someone should keep these computers running. Sarah hires him immediately. Phoenix House's IT department, population 1. Salary covered by anonymous donors who might be Hollywood celebrities, or might be Marcus's mysterious friends. The women start a garden on the roof, tomatoes and basil, growing in ammunition boxes shipped from Afghanistan. Life from instruments of death, beauty from ashes, the kind of metaphor too obvious for fiction but perfect for reality. Sarah's parents' estate auction raises $2 million for Phoenix House. Every Persian rug and crystal chandelier transformed into therapy sessions and job training. Richard writes from prison, a letter full of manipulation disguised as apology. Sarah burns it unread, using the ashes to fertilize the rooftop garden. 3 years after the fire, Phoenix House has locations in 5 cities, 300 women housed, 1,200 more in outpatient programs. Sarah stands before Congress again, this time with 20 sisters behind her, their missing pieces adding up to completeness. We lost parts of ourselves defending this country, she testifies. But we found each other in the wreckage. The standing ovation lasts 4 minutes, but Sarah's already thinking about the new resident arriving tonight, another woman discarded by family, by system, by society that thanks veterans with words but not actions. That evening, Sarah sits on Phoenix House's roof, Brooklyn, spreading infinite below. Her phone buzzes with texts from women she's helped, photos of new jobs, new homes, new children born into better circumstances. This is family. Not blood, but choice. Not obligation, but dedication. Not perfect, but permanent. The mansion's ashes have long since scattered, but Sarah Miller stands rebuilt. One arm, one purpose, 1,000 sisters strong. The war is over. The peace work has just begun.